Welcome to Coffee Theology's video series Language 101. This video is on prepositions. Prepositions are wonderful little words that if you are studying a language that has all these different endings in various different forms that a word can take, and you have to memorize all of those, you get to prepositions and there's this breath of sweet air that says, oh, I don't have any endings and no changes at all. Why? Because prepositions do not decline or change in form. They stay the same all the time. There is no plural or singular form. There is no change due to anything like tense. Nothing. No changes. It's always the same. It's really beautiful and it's wonderful. And you're like, hallelujah. And then you realize that this little dinky word has a definition the size of Texas. And you got to try to remember all the different ways that it can be used. So there are some bad, downsides to prepositions. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. Now, prepositions, as you start to learn them within Latin, it says that they are governed by a case. Now, this is true in Greek as well. So what does this mean that they are governed by a case? Well, this means that some prepositions will always be followed by an object or word in the accusative case, while others will always be followed by an object or word in the ablative case or ablative case. I just did a video on pronunciation and I can't figure out how to pronounce ablative or ablative. In fact, let's do a poll down in the comments and see whether it's ablative or ablative. And, ablative is A, ablative is B. Just kind of give your vote, which one you think it should be. And we'll figure it out. I'll probably pronounce it all the different ways throughout these video series, and you can just get on my case later on for how bad I am since I just did a video on pronunciation. But that being said, that for these to be governed by a case means that as you're reading and you get to that preposition, the word that follows immediately after that preposition is always going to be in a particular case. And so in Latin, only the prepositions in and sub and subter and super will be followed by either the accusative or the ablative case. All the other rest of them, it's going to be one or the other, and every time you encounter it, that's what it's going to be followed by. So, for instance, when you look at this list of the prepositions, you have in the yellow here, these are all the prepositions that will always be followed by a word in the accusative case. The blue ones are those that are always going to be followed by a word in the ablative case. And then the green are those that would take both. So this gives you just kind of a quick sense that most take the accusative case, and then about 1/4-ish take the ablative with maybe like 1/8 taking both. So when you are translating and you get to one of these prepositions, you can expect, and if you are writing and translating into Latin, you're going to be making sure that you follow these prepositions with the proper case after that. Now, some of you that are brand new are like, what in the world is a case? Well, a case has to do with the role that a noun or an adjective has within the sentence. If it's the subject, it's going to be the nominative case. If it's possessive, it's going to be the genitive case. If it's going to be the direct object of the verb, it's going to be the accusative case. If it's going to be the object of a preposition, it's going to be in the ablative case. And if it's the indirect object, it's going to be the dative case. So basically, the role in the sentence is what the case is. We'll get into detail about the cases pretty soon. But just understand that the prepositions are going to take that particular case. Now, this slide here that shows all these different prepositions with these nice little one word definitions of ad means to, adversus means against, adversum means towards, ante means before, apud means at or near. It's actually much broader than that, and the definitions are very long for these because they can take such different takes depending on the context. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at these different prepositions in English and how they're used. We're going to use the exact same two prepositions, but in three different ways, meaning three different things. So the prepositions can convey spatial relationships, which would be, that book is by the door. Now, when I say by in this sentence, I am saying that the book is located in space next to the door. When I say take the book with you, what I mean when I say with is that book should be possessed by you in your hands and go along wherever you go. So that book is with you. So spatially, it is in your possession. It is together with you wherever you go. Then there's a temporal relationship. So if I say he arrived by noon, well, I don't mean that you were like next to a clock that was reading noon. It means that in time. So the other one was in space, but here in time, you are near to noon or at noon. He will leave with the sunrise. So with is saying at the same time as the sunrise. Doesn't mean that you're going to be over next to the sunrise. And then there's the abstract relationships. That note was written by Anna. Now, this doesn't mean that the note was even, was close to Anna or whatever. It means that Anna was the source of the note. So by is this abstract relationship of source, and I am with you all the way. I can say that to somebody over the phone when they're on the other side of the world, because it's an abstract relationship of saying I am on board with you, I agree with you, and I'm of like mind with you. So what we see here with the prepositions is that they give these three different types of relationships. There's spatial relationships, temporal relationships, and abstract relationships. And usually each one of those prepositions has, two or three or maybe even more ways in which they're used in each one of those contexts. So spatially, it could mean different things, or temporally or abstractly. And so that's why the definitions are so long and so varied, because they're very, very flexible little words. Now, in memorizing the prepositions for Latin, I did create a chart that's in the chart book that looks basically like this. And you'll notice that there's no English on here. And this is just a note on vocabulary memorization, period. As much as you can when you're memorizing vocabulary, you want to try to get the idea behind the Latin word to come to your head by the Latin word. Often when we're learning vocabulary, we learn the Latin word, and then we flip over a vocabulary card, and on the back of the vocabulary card is an English word. And the English word, then once I read the English word, now the idea comes to my head. And so that means that every time that I'm reading and going through the language, what's happening is I'm translating, because I have the Latin word that makes me think of the English word, and then the English word brings the idea to my head. What's better to do while you are learning vocabulary is to say the vocabulary word and have the idea in your head rather than the English word. So you when you're learning tree, like the first video talked about the idea of the tree, you're saying arbor, but you're picturing a tree in your head, and then you use it in sentences like, oh, I can't wait to go climb that arbor. I want to get an arbor house someday for my kids. You put that word in where you would have the other idea, and you try to bring it out that way, so that arbor brings the picture of what we say tree in English. It doesn't bring the English word tree. And so this chart for the prepositions is a way of doing that. It's a way of letting you just look at the relationship where ex means out of, in means with the accusative means into, in with the ablative, like the little green box, is sitting right there on top, and the in with the ablative means that like you're inside the room, you're not moving in or out. Whereas in with the accusative, there's in motion into, ex, there's motion out of. Ad is unto, ab is away from, and then de is down from, per is through, and you can see how the arrow's going through. Trans is across, Cum is with, prop is in the presence of, pro is before, post is behind. So you get the idea. It's like you're able to look and see the relationships there through the picture and just keep trying to remember the actual spatial relationship that is indicated by the word, rather than trying to think of the English word and then the other one. This is especially good for prepositions, because prepositions, there's going to be such a variance of words that's going to be hard to remember. Now, one thing that's interesting with prepositions is that they are used differently from language to language. So, for instance, with Latin, the word, if you're, we would say in English, oh, he's on the mountain, whereas in Latin you'd say he's in the mountain. And so they're used differently, and you got to get used to that different usage. But once you do get used to that, it's easier to grasp. But that's sometimes you're going to see the preposition in Latin, and you're going to actually translate it with on in English. So also with the temporal relationships, there's a similar thing with the pictures. Cum can mean with, and meaning also when. So cum, sometimes you'll see it means with, and then all of a sudden you'll be thrown this definition. It also means when. But realize that it's this temporal withness that means that we translate it into English as when. Ante is before, like Lady Antebellum is before the war. Post is afterwards, which we even get that in English. So that should not be hard. So those are prepositions. Hope you enjoyed this video as well. And we will move on to conjunctions. Again, like this video down at the bottom, get as many likes as we can, because I know how much everybody likes Latin. And then also, if you, again, are interested, you're going through this and you're starting to get really interested in learning Latin, we're getting to the point where you might want to have the chart book along with you as we are going through these videos. So check out that link below, and you can get one of the chart books for you.